Welcome to the second movie of 4 about setting up a login and registration system using PHP and MySQL. To protect our page, we're going to use sessions to check to see if a session variable has been created or not, and if that session variable isn't created, then the user won't be allowed to view a particular page. So in the files that go along with this lab, in the includes folder, there are a couple of files. There is authorize.inc.php that's going to check to see if a session variable called login is set and bounce users back to the login page if it isn't. And there is a sessions.inc.php page that controls the sessions. Now, session will start the session, and that will create the PHP sesh ID cookie that controls the key, that has the key and that controls the session. What you'll need to do in this file is make sure that you edit this to match the path of your application. So for example, if you unzip these files into a folder called PHP encryption on your server and your student number was this, then that's the address that you need to put in there to replace your path. So it would look something like that. Now what's important here, the session set cookie params is being used to set a number of parameters. We can see them if we roll over here in Visual Studio Code. We've got the lifetime of the cookie, which is set to 0, so at the time when we close the browser down. We've got the path that the cookie can live on, which we've just set to match that of our space on the server. We've got the domain of our server, and then the last two flags are to do with whether we are using HTTPS and then whether we're HTTP only, which means whether the cookies can be accessed by JavaScript. So this flag here indicates that we can only set this cookie via HTTPS. So add those settings in to match those of your domain and web space. Okay, so the index page is the one that we want to protect. So we will need to include into that our sessions file. So we'll load that in, or require it in this case. We'll also want to require in the authorize include as well. So I'll add that in here. So we've got our two include. So this will be switching our session on, and then this other, so that's this one here, sessions, and this authorize one is going to see whether we've got session login and to decide whether to let them into that page or not. In our login page, we're going to just want the sessions. So we'll load the sessions into that because obviously they don't need to be logged in on that page. It's going to offer me the opportunity to log in. Okay, right, so with those changes in place, let's just test that page on the server now. So back on the server, if I go and visit the home page site, and I try to visit not allowed, you see it doesn't let me into not allowed, which is good. But also there's a problem here in that my debugging dump here, the debugging dump is just a result of this include here. It's just giving me a print R of the session and a print R of the cookie. And I can tell from that that the session hasn't been set. So remember that the session was set up, its parameters were set up in here to use HTTPS. And that isn't the case here at the moment. So, and I can test that as well, because if I right click and inspect, I go to application, go to cookies, there's no PHP sesh ID cookie in there, which I would need for the sessions to work. So let's go to HTTPS address and have a look now, and there's our PHP sesh ID. And if I drag this out, you'll be able to see that these two ticks indicate that it's on HTTP only, and this is an important one, that it's secure, that the cookie can only be set when we connect via HTTPS, which obviously you'd want an SSL connection, HTTPS connection when you're passing login credentials. So we should always be doing that. Okay, so now I artificially moved myself onto HTTPS there. We can't rely on users to do that. So if you are on the homepages server, which is an Apache box, you're going to need to edit and create a file called a .htaccess file, which is a configuration file. So a htaccess file can be used to force users onto a HTTPS connection by this rewrite rule. And I've given you a basic htaccess file to edit. You need to replace your path with whatever your path would be. So in most instances on home pages, it's going to be something like ~b and then your number, and then assuming you've saved stuff into a PHP encryption folder, something like that. So with that, save that onto your home pages, your public HTML folder, and then test your application. And what should happen with that in place is that when you come back to view your page, you'll see even if you try to force it onto an unsecure connection, it will immediately trip onto a secure connection.